Living the dream.
immersive is.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not the host. I don't believe. Okay, there we go. We're recording.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We are here on October 17th for a regular meeting of the Lake County BOCC. If you could turn off cell phones, we will do pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Can look over the agenda. Everything looked good to me. Are there any items we need to pull off? Tim, Chris, anyone?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we have all 9 agenda.
Okay.
Kayla, any amendments or?
No,
questions?
nothing for me, thank you.
Okay, then, I'll go ahead and, well.
Do you want me to do?
Yeah, why don't you start and I'll second.
Sure, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I'll second. Any other discussion? Nope. So vote, I'll vote aye.
Aye?
Which I guess the chair's supposed to be last.
It's okay.
Community information items, none from me.
None for me either.
And I believe Commissioner Mudge is home sick or with sick kids, so. Did we get any announcements from Sarah?
I did not.
I didn't, okay,
I did
just,
not
sometimes we get
receive
stuff
anything.
texted in. Okay, I will turn to, public comment. As usual, citizens wishing to speak on issues not on the agenda are requested to either raise their hand here or send a message, and we'll call on them in order. Please try to limit to 3 minutes. And the purpose, as always with public comment, is not to get into a detailed discussion in this meeting, but to get items on our radar and on staff's radar to follow up.
Cool.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm Christian Lunadleal, 42-7. I am here as the chair or the president of the Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority. I am here asking that we schedule that meeting that we talked about last meeting. It is incredibly important that we have both this, or all three, the city, the county, and the Regional Housing Authority in one building talking about budgets, so that we can have a good understanding of what everyone can commit to next year. I know that we had already had an agreement based on the IGA, but obviously circumstances have changed and the match has needed to change. So I think it's very important that we get that done sooner rather than later, so it gives both of our parties the opportunity to kind of discuss within itself what we can commit to in terms of the 2024 budget for the Regional Housing Authority. So if that could be sent over as soon as possible, that would be great. The sooner the better, and the easier it is for me to coordinate with all the other Regional Housing Authority at-large members, as well as the board or the city council.
Okay. Just logistically, what's the like, should it be like you, Sarah as chair, and the mayor, or should we do like Tim, Laurie, Jackie? What do you think's the best?
So generally speaking, I think it's important that city council has a good understanding of what's going on as well. And I imagine board county commissioners, you guys would also like to know in detail what's going on as well, so you can make more educated budgetary decisions.
Yeah,
So-
sorry, I meant just like the logistics of finding the time.
Oh,
Like,
the
do you
most
think-
important people of it would probably be Sarah, you, myself, Tim Hill, and the mayor and Lori Simonson.
Okay.
If nothing else works, but
Right,
generally speaking, as many people as possible, but
Yeah.
if it's just not possible for all three of y'all, And for city council to meet it, that's fine too.
Yeah.
The key people are those people.
Yeah, and we can check on this, but do you know, with your city council hat on, do you know, is there sort of like a drop, or not drop dead, but like, is there a date? I mean, I know it should happen as soon as possible, but like, do you know if you have a budget work session that we should really try to get it before, or you can,
We think, we've already discussed it.
Yeah. so
and
just
we've-
as soon as possible?
Yeah, we've already discussed, what we're currently, the offer that was, or request that was made by Jackie.
Yeah,
And we've already said that it's a necessity, it's not something we're going to say no to. It is something we're gonna say yes to, just, what else do we have to cut? And moving forward to the 2024 budget, what are we doing with? So, take
Okay.
that for what it's worth.
Okay,
okay, thanks.
thanks, Christian.
Of course.
Anyone else in the room? I don't see anyone. I don't see any hands up on Zoom. Last call for online Zoom public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to the first item on the agenda, which is discussion and consideration of a professional services agreement with Cloud City Conservation Center, or C4, for out-of-school programming.
Yeah.
Adam,
And that would be me. Thanks everyone for giving some time here. Thanks Emily for coming and representing C4. Yeah, this is the first of two PSAs. I'd love to get board approval on, the first one being with Cloud City Conservation Center. This has to do with some funding that has come through on the original grant for support for Get Outdoors Leadville, as well as a supplemental grant in 2021. The original grant was in 2017. And it was set up to deliver programs for nature-based learning with the Lake County School District. And that's been ongoing for several years now. And those programs have been run by our in-school program manager, Mary Palumbo. And the funds are set to expire on June 31st of 2025. As we move forward with the transition and integration of Get Outdoors Leadville into the pros department, Vanessa and I had spent a lot of time, a lot of work on Vanessa's part, but I was brought in later to evaluate and assess current programming and seeing if everything fits along with the mission as we're moving forward. It was determined that the nature-based learning programs could be better situated with a partner, a collaborator, who is a little bit better aligned with the environmental ed delivery in school, knowing that we do the outdoor-based, nature-based programming out of school, or when school is in session, we take folks out to natural areas for instruction. C4, as this has all been going on, has also enhanced and expanded their mission to include environmental ed in school district. So we've been talking over the last several months about transferring that level of programming over to C4. And that would free up a lot of time, money, and resources internally for Get Outdoors Leadville and pros as we further develop our in-school program manager position there and offer more outdoor opportunities. The funding, again, I said it would expire in July of 2025, so that means $40,000 passing through Lake County from Great Outdoors Colorado, from GOCO, through us, passing to C4 to deliver $40,000 a year in 2024 and 2025 to deliver the program deliverables for that grant. So I'm just asking board approval, approve that PSA to hand that over to C4 beginning January 1st.
Okay.
And if Emily wanted to say something on C4's behalf.
I'm happy to answer any questions. We've, our farm is located on school district property. That's how we've done most of our in-school education to date. And we have done that with an AmeriCorps service member through this funding, and then we've applied to some outside sources of funding. We would hire an education manager in January to take over this and run this aspect of our programming. So it wouldn't be, we're not adding this to any existing staff. It would help create a new position at C4, and education has always been something we've been interested in doing, and we've had a number of conversations with Goal on where does that fit within both of our organizations, and I think this is just an opportunity to continue the amazing work that Goal has done to date, and then really find a place for this programming to live in our community long term.
What, does this include like summer, or is it like out of school during the school year?
My understanding is that it's during the school year.
So I think on the agenda,
Maybe that's the
it
wrong
says
question.
out of school, but it should have said in school.
Yeah,
It is,
Okay,
the GoCo funding is specific to in-school time. So what Goal has done to date is that every student has spent a day outdoors learning around curriculum related to the outdoors and their in-school standards.
okay,
So it's that specific aspect of programming that like Becca Katz started. C4 will continue to do out of school programming with Project Dream after school, and also Goal through Ruckins Rock in the summer. So we'll continue
Okay.
to do that, but this funding is specific to that in-school time.
gotcha, okay, thanks. Yeah, sorry, I think my brain got thrown off by the agenda, and that's just what I then heard. So does that all happen, that's like part of, like, is there like registration for that? For the
So
stuff under this contract, or is it all just kind of like through just when you're enrolled in school?
when you're
you do it?
enrolled in school.
Yeah.
So I think what Mary has been doing is working with each individual grade to schedule those units. The best example, like C4 has already worked with Goal over the last few years. I wanna say it's second or third grade to do like a pollinators day outside learning about bees and pollinators. So that's like an example, but it's part of it being in school means that it's equitable and it's available to every student regardless. As long as they're showing up to school that day, they'll get to participate.
Okay,
Did you have any?
no, I think you hit all the questions that I would have had, so, yeah, that's great.
Okay, I'm happy to take a motion.
I will do that. So I will make a motion that we approve the professional services agreement with Cloud City Conservation Center for out-of-school programming.
All right, I'll second. And any further discussion? None for me,
No,
so
not for me, thank you.
go ahead and take a vote.
Aye?
Aye. Okay, so that is approved.
Okay.
So we can move on to item number 2, discussion and consideration of a PSA with Saldivar Consulting LLC to support the integration of Get Outdoors Leadville and Parks and Recreation and Open Space.
Grant, this one's also me. Yeah, as we all know, Vanessa had stepped down as executive director on October 1st. Get Outdoors Leadville, I've taken on that program as part of the pros department, but having Vanessa available for on a consultant basis for me, especially as I work through this integration, would be extremely valuable. There is already funding awarded for supporting this level of consultation through GoCo's Generation Wild funding stream. That's been pretty kind to Get Outdoors Leadville over the years, as you know. That one was awarded at $350,000 to be paid out over the next 2 years. That's been awarded. We obviously haven't provided any invoices and received any reimbursement for that. The official title of that consultation role will be an integration project manager. Year 1, $20,000 a year. Year 2, $10,000 a year. Scope of work would be helping me with some of the deputy director hiring and onboarding, having a really nice transition so we can set our new deputy up for success to lead Get Outdoors Leadville to the next level. Also having regular check-ins with me as I think about higher level strategies for growing and further developing the program. And then helping me with the bits and pieces that always get lost in transition, like following up on childcare licensing and certification, just getting the full context of where those initiatives might sit so that we can move forward and not have any hiccups along the way in delivering programs. So I'm asking the board for approval of that PSA for Saldivar Consulting LLC, $30K over the next 2 years, $20K next year, or 20, starting from now, and then $10K the following year, knowing that will be reimbursed by Great Outdoors Colorado.
Okay. And it's 100% reimbursable, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. I don't think that I have any questions on this.
Yeah, I don't.
Very
Yeah,
straightforward.
so, yeah.
Okay. I will make a motion that we approve the PSA with Saldivar Consulting LLC to support the integration of Get Outdoors Leadville goal into Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, or PROS.
I'll second.
Okay.
I think we're good on discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Aye.
cool. Aye. So that is also approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Cool. Thank you both. Can move on to agenda item number 3, discussion and consideration of a PSA between Cloud City Conservation Center and Lake County Department of Human Services to utilize TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, funding for housing counseling. And Janine?
Hi.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like this. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. So this funding, as many of you all know, because you've been well trained on how we can use TANF funding, is available to support families in a number of different ways. And this particular amount of funding is available to folks who are TANF eligible, which means that they have children under the age of 18 in their home. Their household income is less than $75,000 annually, and someone in the home is a legal permanent resident. So we have partnered with Cloud City to be able to provide this funding to folks who meet that criteria. And it can be used at their discretion for whatever assistance is available, including staffing to provide that assistance, and is in the amount of $57,500. So it's essentially $7,500 for administrative work, and then $50,000 for providing this assistance. And it will involve both the counseling supports related to housing counseling and any actual payments that need to be made that support utilities or the allowable funding. So we're happy to have this. I think it will help supplement the funding that C4 has for this and stretch it a little bit farther by being able to provide this TANF funding specifically for families that meet that criteria.
Okay.
Yeah. So I should have, maybe I should have picked up on this in the draft PSA, but is this counseling for folks who are already in housing but are like, they threatened, some way? It's not like counseling for like new ownership or?
Yeah.
No, it's, right, go ahead.
Sorry, Janine, it's specific to our low income energy programs.
Gotcha.
So bill payment assistance, our own energy assistance fund, enrolling families in care, weatherization, LEAP, SIP, all of those programs. And it will help fund some supplemental funding for our own energy assistance fund. All of those households all already fill out applications, so we're able to get the affidavit signed when households meet that criteria. And I think this will just really help strengthen our relationship with DHS. Part of what's in the contract is monthly meetings between DHS staff and C4 staff. So I think that will really help us gain a better understanding of what we each do and better support clients that can be served by both of our organizations.
Cool.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. All right. I don't have any other questions. Okay.
For a motion?
All right. I will make a motion that we approve the PSA between Cloud City Conservation, or C4, and Lake County Department of Human Services for TANF funding for housing counseling.
Great, I'll second.
Okay.
I think we're good on questions, so
Yes.
call for vote.
Aye.
Aye. So that PSA is approved.
Awesome.
Thank you. And thanks for that coordination. This looks
Yeah.
great.
Thanks, you guys.
Moving on to agenda item number 4, discussion and consideration of an MOU between Lake County and Prowers County to assist the Hotline County Connection Center with receiving child welfare hotline calls. And Janine, you're up again.
Yeah. So this is an annual renewal of our MOU. Prowers County is the seat of the child welfare statewide hotline, and they provide after hours hotline response for both child welfare and adult protection cases, but it's charged to child welfare because that's the predominant referral that they get. They did increase their fees just a little bit this year to account for their increased cost, and they continue to be a really valuable resource for us. So if you all are interested at some point, I could also do an additional presentation on how many referrals we get per month and what that process looks like from there. But these are, again, for it's both during hours and after hours, but during hours they email staff, and after hours they call them on the on-call phone. So our on-call staff are available to screen those calls and then go out if needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a renewal. It's not a new service.
Nope, we've been doing this annually for 7 years, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No question from me.
Yeah, none for me.
Okay. So with that, I have to get back to the agenda. That was in the packet. Okay, so I will make a motion that we approve the MOU with Lake County and Prowers County to assist with the Hotline County Connection Center, the HCCC, for receiving child welfare hotline calls.
Great, I'll second.
Okay. No
We're
discussion
good.
for me?
So call for vote.
Sure. Aye.
Aye. So that is also approved.
Okay.
Thanks, Janine. Moving on to agenda item 5, discussion and consideration of airport hangar leases for the Leadville Lake County Airport. Josh, you're up.
Sure.
Do you need me to share the screen?
I can. I sent,
It's in the Teams, in the
yeah, put it in the
Yeah.
Teams thing.
Okay.
Josh, do you want to click on airport
Yeah, I'll
hangar
move it.
lease?
Okay. Oh, wait. Where do you want me to start?
I put in, where's the PowerPoint at the top, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
You might want to open it out of that. Or in it.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay. Okay, just a second here. Sometimes, okay, there we go.
Cool.
Oh, sorry, Josh.
No, it's okay.
Are you good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not,
I skipped
It's
through
a
the
pretty
title
simple-
page.
it's a pretty simple PowerPoint, so. So we're here to discuss, basically, we're trying to determine how we want to lease ground at the airport, that makes sense for the people interested in leasing the airport and, for the airport and the county itself, so we don't burden, county land unnecessarily, and, we also have to comply by, I believe it's 32, grant assurances provided by the FAA. So you can go ahead and click the next one. So ground lease, they can be a lot of things. Currently, what we're talking about is we're gonna lease ground so that private citizens can build hangars. So you can see, I think it's like towards the bottom. Ground leases for privately built hangars or facilities is what we're looking at right now. But all these other ones are also leases that the airport can enter in per ground lease, or even just ramp fees, parking areas. So it's not just limited to hangar use, but there's quite a few different options for people to lease facilities ground at the airport. Even the FAA can lease offices and stuff and build on your airport. Currently, what we're looking at is just to build additional hangars from private citizens that want to use them, either fully privately or to potentially more of a commercial fashion of renting extra space inside their hangars. You click the next one.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what a ground lease is that we're looking at right now. We have a lot of developable area. This is our current master plan drawing from Armstrong from 2015, I believe. It is not currently, we've already changed it somewhat, but this is a good layout to kind of get an idea of how much room we have. So if you look in the middle, I can kind of mouse.
Yeah, here, go ahead.
So if you look in the middle here, this is currently what we have right now. That's the airport FBO, the SRE building. This is our big hangar. There is another hangar inside here that is Dave Thompson. That's one of the only ground lease we have right now. We had to, never really had to. And then there's Earl Boobies, it turns out is our hangar. And then we currently built a taxi lane off this end, and this is complete now, so we can build hangars in this manner. It won't look quite like this. We have spots for roughly about 4 along this line.
Okay.
And that's current development, that's what we have right now that could be built on in like next summer, but you know. Looking to the south, currently this is the old ramp. The old FBO and everything used to be located up here. We've had people out right now just removing dirt, taking it, using it around the county for roads and such. But the idea is that eventually all this grade will come down to this level, and we will have approximately 5,000 feet of space to take to the south for us to develop more hangars beyond what we have right now. I don't think we'll ever run out of room while I'm at the airport. So that's kind of gives you an idea that we shouldn't be limited on any kind of area. One part that we have to think about is there is some cost with developing those next areas because we have to do some dirt work removal. This needs to happen anyways. For the FAA, it is a plan in the future to put in a full-length taxiway. So you can see on here, they have this yellow line here is the full-length taxiway, because currently we only have the gray. A full-length taxiway with our current traffic is a good safety item, because right now aircraft will pull back onto the runway and then back taxi on the runway to get to the south end to take off to the north. And that doesn't incur some inherent risk because, you know, you're out on an active runway. In past, we haven't had a lot of traffic where this isn't become an issue, but we've seen it more and more where people are having to wait longer periods of time. There have been a few incursions where someone radio wasn't coming through very clear, someone didn't hear. So that has been happening, but all that dirt work has to be done to provide that taxiway, so we wouldn't be burdening ourselves with anything unnecessary. We'd actually be helping with current further development down in the future. So I think all this right now is looking pretty positive for us to continue to develop the hangar. We get more hangar development and develop the airport in a manner that is linear, and you know, we keep the pieces and we keep the cart behind the horse, per se. So that's what we have for developable area right now. The other thing we also I changed is this was an helicopter testing facility that's been planned for a long time. It's up, if you know the airport layout at all, this is up in the woods right here. we'd have to clear cut a ton of trees, and it would only be useful for helicopters. So I proposed to the CDOT and the FAA that we kind of nix this plan, and then just use area we have down here to develop more hangars that are multi-use and year-round use. Because if we build hangars, if the airport, the county builds hangars for helicopter testing up there, they're only used for 3 months out of the summer and then they sit empty.
Yeah,
If we build them down at the actual airport level, they become multi-use and we can fund them and continue to generate revenue throughout the year because we can use them to rent to jets and other aircraft.
can you just let Janine in the,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
So that's what we're looking at right now for developable area, and kind of the airport plan moving forward.
Okay,
The only issue, I think this was brought up, was that the commissioners were worried about encumbering county land. Because we do own this, the only issue we have, it's a rather elephant in the room, large issue, is that we do have to maintain grant assurances with the FAA because we are a federally funded airport. So that land is really, the only use for it is aeronautical use. We can't do anything else with it. I don't think we're gonna be limited on if we want to build a hangar in the future, we have plenty of land. So if we're looking right now, the area to the north that we've got set up right now, we could rent all those spaces to private and still be well okay as the county if we wanted to build some kind of development in the future.
okay,
We can't do anything else with that land. Really, that doesn't have any kind of aeronautical purpose. So even Michael Irwin wanted to suggest about putting public works kind of up in here.
Mhm.
But this is a federally funded parcel, and so that the FAA said no.
It's gonna be outside of.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't have a distinct aeronautical use, so that land is being encumbered per the FAA for non-aeronautical use, which they funded and they wanna see it used that way.
gotcha.
This is the square here, you can see this is all FAA funded property.
Mhm.
This road no longer exists in this manner, it's actually follows this line here now, this goes to the dirt bike track right here.
Sure,
Which does kind of nice, cause it just gives you a really nice linear line of where the
Yeah.
property boundary is now.
right,
So the current proposal is to move Public Works somewhere outside of this parcel, which is also county owned, but not federally, FAA funded.
gotcha. That was my next question, if that changes things for our conversation on Thursday.
No, and that's why a lot of the areas that I'll discuss on Thursday involve us bumping just outside of that particular parcel, because trying to meet out or piece out a chunk of FAA funded land is like a 10-year process.
Yeah.
It can be.
No, I definitely understand that.
So
Okay.
that'll be, but we'll talk about more on Thursday.
Okay,
Grant assurances, so this, I'll just read this. An airport is federally obligated when the airport owner has accepted federal funds to buy land or develop or improve the airport. With the acceptance of federal funds, airports agree to comply with certain grant assurances, some of which relate to tenants and businesses operating on an airport. A complete list of federal grant assurances can be found here. I'll go ahead and, if this will let me open it.
it should. I don't know if it'll share the,
Okay,
sorry,
checked this link earlier.
and it works.
Yeah, it's either way, I can.
It's fine, it's fine.
Can I just close it? No
Yeah,
window?
yeah.
Okay, cool, so, oops, well, it doesn't matter. I have them pulled up on my computer here, I can send these out as well. I'll send out this document, it's an FAA document. Let's see, how many? That's the wrong one. All right, so. So we have specific assurances, there's two.
And they're all just basically to keep it in the aeronautical uses you were mentioning, and we don't have any intention.
It looks like there's 37 grant assurances. I'll send these out to you as well. You can, there's a lot of them. Some of them are kind of boilerplate, simple. Other ones do pertain, like there's one for access by intercity buses. That obviously that's not gonna pertain to us. But we do have, there's one specifically for hangar construction, competitive access, policies, standards, and specifications that we have to meet per the FAA, foreign market restrictions, engineering and design services. So there is a substantial list of things that we have to do to maintain our appeasement of the FAA, because they, as you know, they provide us a substantial amount of money that lets us develop without having to burden taxpayers unnecessarily, at least local ones.
And when we enter into the ground leases, we would essentially just, like, they'd be an annex, or we just like review against them?
Correct, yes. So you could, Chris could correct me if I'm wrong, but we could just put an annex or like a link to that grant assurances saying that you must comply by all these per federal document 51
We'll just
something.
incorporate by reference into
Yeah,
the cases, the requirements.
Cause I wouldn't wanna put this all in a lease, cause this one's already like 30 pages, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
But we just have to maintain those, and not doing so, or us, missing one or making a mistake will make us ineligible for AIP funding until we correct that situation, which could put us in an irksome place because we do have to renegotiate a lease or something, which Chris could probably attest that, could lead to some litigation.
Yeah.
So we need to do our diligence on the end for that. There are a lot of already pre-approved FAA leases out there, so it's not too hard to stay. The FAA doesn't review every lease that we enter into, but should they review it, there's a process for that, and then, it's kind of like an audit. Rather just do it right in the first place, rather than have them come looking. So that's one piece of that with grant assurances. I did some research on terms. There is guidance inside these documents that says is it this one? Yes, so that's in 12. Of course, I moved myself out because I thought it was in a different document. There we go. Sorry, 1 second. The term, so this was a big piece for us, was the term length. As we currently sit, I think the document came out with a 10-year initial lease with a 10-year extension. Unfortunately, that's not going to work for any private citizen or anybody to amortize the structure that they build on our land. Currently, the FAA, per this document, most tenant ground leases of 30 to 35 years are sufficient to retire a tenant's initial financing and provide reasonable return for the tenant's development or major facilities. I believe that 30 to 35 years is one term including an extension, but it doesn't specify specifically. Most industry right now is showing that a 25 to a 30-year term is the standard for most people to amortize their investment at the airport.
Okay.
It's gone up because of cost increases and inflation and things like that with building structures. And but the other part too, to give you some reassurance that it's not gonna go like crazy long, is the FAA still says that 50 years may be considered disposal of property, and that the term of lease will likely exceed the useful life of the structures erected on the property. And the FAA, if we do approve a lease past 50 years, the FAA may deny that lease because it exceeds 50 years.
Okay.
You have to go to the FAA specifically with it's a whole process to get a lease that extends past that. It usually involves a very hefty commercial investment.
Okay.
I don't see us doing that at our airport in the future for a while. Probably none of us for a while. But right now it's looking like honestly, I'll propose that a 30-year initial lease with a 10-year extension would be where we would sit.
Okay.
I believe Tom Charles is here. He's one of our proposed investors builders.
Okay.
And Tom, would you agree that lease term would?
Yes, I mean, it's gotta be at least 40 years to make financial sense. These are not cheap structures, and they're gonna be very nice structures as well. They're not gonna be, some of which were done in the past, so.
Okay.
Tom's on our airport board as well. He's put in a substantial amount of his own time and money into the airport recently with purchasing an aircraft that is being used to teach flight instruction out of our airport right now. Has a flying club as well attached to it. Tom owns another plane that he bases here. He's done a phenomenal job in the last couple of years of being part of the airport, and I really appreciate his work. He also, I believe his sentiments will correctly and accurately reflect the other interested parties that we have. One, Steve Meinhardt, Robert Jones, and I think Brett Porterfield is the other one.
Okay.
We have a few kind of on the fence that have been dipping their toes a little bit, trying to figure out how things are going. But I think once we start this process and we get a lease that is agreeable to, you know, us and the people, it makes it a worthy investment. I think we'll kind of open the floodgates a little bit. Some people don't want to do the initial work and they just want to be like, oh, I show up and they get a lease right away. Thanks to Tom for bearing with me and us for the process as we go through it. A lot of us are kind of figuring this out. We haven't done very many ground leases. The last one was done in 2018. And so I appreciate Tom's patience in all of this.
Sure.
The other piece of that as well, what was I gonna say? Oh, my mind just blanked on it.
So maybe while you're thinking of that, I can just hop back in. I mean, so if I'm understanding the presentation right, the potential concern is that locking up, you know, for 30, 40 years or longer, we have to just make sure we're not precluding some other county use, but on that FAA land, there really isn't any other use other than like us building something.
Correct.
We're not running out of space
No,
in the foreseeable future.
no,
So-
if we can't, unfortunately, like I said, if we were privately funded, I would
Yeah.
agree, we could do whatever we want.
Yeah.
But once you take the federal funds from the FAA, you are beholden to all those grant assurances. So for us as a county, we really don't, unless you guys want to pony up to build another hangar right now, which I can tell you to build our current 11,000 square foot we have, if we wanted to build a duplicate of that is probably $1.5 to $2 million.
Yeah.
The hangar costs have gone up through the roof since COVID. At one point, steel prices were 180% higher than what they were. Lead times have gotten really high. But to assuage your fears, we are not running out of space. We have plenty of developable space moving forward. So we also, it's just another kind of development cost, the idea of using that land. We also do have the entire west side of the airport.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, it's a
I was
little
looking at the
below
picture 'cause
grade.
I was like, wait, how fast does that fall off?
So it only drops probably 15 feet, but downhill, so you would have to do some dirt work in here. It would be, you know, maybe some hefty stuff further south you went. But we do have a huge parcel of FAA funded land to our west still as well. Access to that is a little bit limited, but if we get to the point where we need space, we absolutely can move that direction as well. So if that was a fear that the board had,
No, I think it's just, that's the concern, but that's the criteria, but I don't think it's a concern. Jim?
Okay.
Yeah.
oh,
I guess-
I remember what I was gonna say, sorry, any improvements on the property as well, we do have a reversion clause, so that those improvements, after the end of the term do become airport owned.
County.
The county owns it.
Okay.
So any improvements to the structures and stuff become the airport's to use.
Okay. I guess one of my questions is, what does that look like for those being subject to property tax? Just because they're on the county's property, the improvements will still be taxed and assessed and have.
Yeah, because they still, until the end of the term, they own those improvements.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that was clarified somewhere in the actual.
So they're charged for the assessed value of the building.
Okay.
And then we have a ground lease,
To cover the cost of the land.
yeah, so they're paying per square footage of the land. ideally, we're not trying to make money on the ground lease itself. That's not the idea. It's kind of to encourage development without, just giving it away. So we do incur some funding from that. Really, the benefit that we see from having these extra hangars and stuff is we get more aircraft.
Okay,
By and far, our biggest margin that we see at the airport is fuel sales. So more aircraft, it means more fuel sales, and that's where we make most of our money. These ground leases typically are set up so that you are generating a ton of revenue just off renting the ground. It's more that the aircraft that end up coming to the airport because of the increased space and capacity.
okay,
So if that gives you an idea of.
Yeah.
We're not trying to, make a huge margin on our
No,
end just
totally.
for renting the ground. It's more about that they bring us more business to
Okay.
sell fuel
Yeah.
to.
okay,
Which I can tell you, if we manage to get, if I had one more jet a week, if I had a base jet that took 1,000 gallons of fuel a week, my fuel sales would skyrocket. I mean, that would be almost double my fuel sales per year if I had
Okay.
one aircraft buying 1,000 gallons of jet fuel a week.
okay,
If I could get that to 3, 4, 5, get more traffic, more jet traffic that comes in per week, like our revenues will be very healthy.
okay,
It's not so much about, it's all about fuel sales. That's really what it comes down to. The profit we see from the GA, the general aviation
Mhm.
side, which is like a lot of what Tom does, is small aircraft, single engine, the weekend warriors, I call them a lot. You make a little money on those guys, but not much. It's the
Okay.
jets, the jet and military helicopter traffic, stuff like that. Selling a bulk amount of fuel to is where you generate revenue at the airport.
okay,
So us increasing our hangar capacity, because everyone here is aware of our winters, being able to put a plane inside during the winter is a huge demand. We get calls often if we have hangar space, and then the second question is if we have the ice, which is no to both. So we often jets turn away because we cannot provide those at the current state we're in right now.
okay. So
So,
this is the first step to like building into that winter.
correct, yeah, the other
Okay.
piece is that if we could get the ice, then we could
Okay.
offer more services, and we would increase our traffic through that as well.
Okay, cool. And then, I had a question, I just lost it. Do you get testing inquiries for wintertime high altitude testing, or is that just a year-round thing, or mostly summer?
We get a few. I wouldn't say it's sporadic enough where I wouldn't bank on it being any kind of regular occurrence.
Wintertime?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's usually somebody wants to do cold weather starts, which isn't a long testing period typically, for engine stuff.
Okay,
Most of the time, they want to see performance at high density altitude, high temperature days. Hot and
Okay.
high is what they want.
okay.
So
yeah.
that's usually for us is July through September.
Okay, cool.
Unfortunately, I'd love to see testing year round, but
There's just.
just the demands of testing, it doesn't happen. So.
Okay, cool. That was,
Josh, can you hear me?
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you had requested that when we had our last meeting, to get some real factual, figures on fuel. For one base hangar, let me put it this way, we manage corporate jets, and one of the jets we have is Encore. And they fly about 200 hours a year, which turns into about 40,000 gallons a year. Now, not all of that would be right out of Lake County because they're flying to other destinations, but they would tanker most of it, and probably 70% of those 40,000 gallons would be spent right there at Lake County. So that just one corporate jet would net you that kind of an increase.
So if you need 70% of 40 and then $7.50 a gallon.
okay,
So you can see, and the margin currently on jet fuel is healthy. Prices have remained relatively stable while the bulk fuel cost has gone down. So our margins on jet fuel are pretty decent right now.
Okay.
But if that gives you an idea, thank you, Jeff. Oh, Jeff is on our board as well. He's been on our board for close to 2 years now, I believe, or 2 years or some change.
2.5 years, yeah.
Yeah, so, and Jeff has been involved in aviation, lives in Summit County for a long time. He's bought and sold airplanes. He has a company that does so. They manage corporate jets. So Jeff's a wealth of knowledge and help, so.
Okay, cool.
So the agenda has a desired BOCC decision. What decision do you need from us today?
I would say
Or just sort of like the green light to keep this discussion, or like actually move ahead
I
with
think
starting to
the primary
negotiate
one
leases?
had to do with the term of the lease. I
Correct.
think
Okay.
the other terms of the lease can be negotiated with the other party, but it was how long the commissioners were comfortable with encumbering the county's property on these leases. I know the template the original template we had was for 25 years, and that was from 2008, I believe. And then I came back with a shorter term with renewal or options to renew extensions and stuff like that to try to not put the county in a position like it's been in the past where we have leases for county property at, 30, 40, 50 years at $10 a year or something like that, that is not necessarily the highest and best use of the county's property. So I think we're just looking for some guidance so that we can work with the folks that are interested to get a standard, if you will, lease put together to offer to these investors.
And 30-year with a 10-year extension option is what you,
If that's what y'all are comfortable with, that's.
I will say, I think that's the only way we're, like, right now, the other terms that she mentioned, we can negotiate those as we go through the lease documents. We're not gonna get anybody in the door until we do that part.
and going longer bumps up against the FAA
Correct.
issue, yeah.
Right.
There's a part where the FAA might have to reassess their idea because of costs. But they haven't done so yet. So right now, I'd say a 30-year with a 10-year extension is, for us, is the only way we're gonna get people started in the process.
And then
Yeah.
also maybe some
Yeah.
feedback on the rent to be charged. So as Josh said, that's not gonna generate most of the revenue, but you also want it to be somewhat commercially reasonable, both for the county and for the tenant.
Could you work with the assessor's office to get like if when you're measuring a home, right, and you incorporate the cost of the land into the improvement, could the assessor's office give you an idea of like, if this were,
If it were public or
if it were
private
private
property that was being taxed.
this is ideally what it would look like for taxes broken out between an improvement and the land cost? And could that be grounds for justification of the cost of the land lease? I'm just spitballing ideas here, so I don't
We
know if
should
you
have,
guys had anything else.
because they do already assess Dave Thompson's hangars, so we should have,
Something.
they should have something that they do.
Mhm.
Granted, if that's what you're looking for, I don't know.
But
No,
that's just
and-
on the improvements too.
Correct, that
which-
should only
which
be on the
doesn't-
structure.
Yeah, which doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And so I don't know necessarily if that's or does, but in terms of for vacant land, is that what you're suggesting to?
I don't know if Mark can give you an example of like, if this were privately held, here's what the valuation would be broken out by for an improvement in the land, because you break those out separately in the assessor's office. And so I think that what you can do is you can measure the improvement, and then that gives you the calculation of the amount of land underneath the improvement, or the measurement of the land in the lease, and then you can, like, that's broken out anyway.
We can talk to them about that and just see, obviously, and part of it too is it is a negotiation with the tenant,
Yeah.
how much are they
And I'm
willing to
not-
pay, but it's,
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, it's a unique asset. Each parcel is gonna be a unique asset in terms of, because it is rural property. So, but you'd wanna get some sort of consistency as to what you're charging.
Correct. So the way the FAA broke that out is that we can absolutely discriminate based on stuff. We just can't have unjust discrimination. Now that gives you a little bit of a,
Like, for example, if he was still looking at doing the hangars for the helicopters up in the trees and stuff like that, he could potentially charge less because it's not as accessible down at the,
Yes.
at the main line.
Yeah,
if they have a similar economic standing or use, the FAA says you need to give those about the same type of lease. So you need to have, like she said, you have a standard. If we have if someone's building a hangar just for their own private plane, the guy next door has the same hangar with his own private plane, those leases should look very much the same.
And
Yeah.
in all honesty, I'd love us to have a template where
Yeah.
this is what we offer and we can revisit the cost
Yeah.
and stuff each year or whatever, if it makes sense that we need to raise the rent for new, tenants and stuff. But I'd like to have it consistent, because that's been one of the challenges, is like a lot of the different things is inconsistencies as to how we lease county property.
Yeah.
Right.
So and you
Yeah, I
can,
mean,
you
I-
can delegate to
So
us
you
to
just want us
figure that
to-
out.
I definitely think delegate, because I don't think, I can't come up with a number in my head that will be remotely right. I was saying, I mean, there's so many factors, I mean, both, like you said, the location, but also, I mean, it's, the land lease is an interesting one. And again, if I understood, like, that reversion of the property,
Well, it's a
down.
reversion of the improvements, so
Yeah,
the
yeah,
county
yeah.
retains the ownership of the property, but then whatever is built at the end of the term,
Becomes
it
county.
becomes the county's property, the
Yeah.
improvements revert to the county.
yeah.
So
And
you're essentially.
it'll be 40 years old at that point, but still,
Yeah.
like that, I mean, to me, that's non-trivial, like, in terms of, and also your point about, like, the county's benefit is generating more flights into the airport, not
And
the
part
lease
of it
payments as a
too,
commercial venture.
yeah, and part of it too is it might be up to a 40-year lease, but the tenant might not wanna be in it for 40 years
Yeah.
too. And so, for whatever reason, the lease terminates, then you end up, the county gets the benefit of the improvements that were built during that lease term.
Correct.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if they terminate the lease, usually most leases, regardless of the way the lease has ended, the reversion happens to the airport.
Wow, okay.
The other piece of that too is, man, I keep thinking of something, my brain just blanks.
That's all right.
I have
We just
something
wanted
weird to say.
guidance from y'all as to what direction, if there, you kind of get an idea from y'all as to what you were comfortable with. And so we hear the 30 plus 10 is okay in terms of the term, and then in terms of the rent, we can negotiate that.
And
And the rent
research
piece of
on-
it,
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna mention, is the rent piece is currently that land is generating no revenue and also costs us no money.
Yeah.
So 5 cents a square foot, 40 cents a square foot, we will be making profit because it is making money. Now,
Yeah.
most of the market right now is about 25 cents to 40 cents per square foot. And that's kind of where, that's, most of the areas I've looked at have been in that
That's
range.
what I was gonna, yeah, I wouldn't, because I know that the old template we have, I think was at 18 cents a square foot or
Yes.
something like that, which I don't think is reasonable for this day and time.
I am good with 30 years and a 10-year extension. I think that makes the most sense. What about demolition of the property? Of the improvement?
I believe the,
If the tenant
If it has to be
decides-
removed, if it termination, it's past its useful life, we'll have a provision in there that essentially says that they bear the cost of removal.
Okay, that, I think that's really all I
Yeah,
wanted.
because
hopefully it
we don't
doesn't
wanna-
get that way. but-
Yeah, so
No,
we don't
no,
wanna
no.
acquire facilities that then we have to incur expenses to remove because they're not usable
Correct.
anymore.
Okay, nope, that was the only question that I had. Okay. All right, I'm
yeah,
good.
I'm good.
Okay, so is there a motion that you'd like us to make?
I'd say
Chris,
if we could get a
Josh?
motion for that lease term, we can work on the rest of these pieces, cause that'll at least get us started.
Okay. Cool, we can do that, I think. I just need to go back to the agenda.
I can take a crack, or
Sure, no, that's
So
fine,
I'll-
I'm still working on my
I'll-
computer.
I'll look for a motion to direct staff to continue work on both researching lease format and price, but with guidance from the BOCC to use a 30-year with 10-year extension format, and then research and negotiate lease payments based on comparable facilities.
Okay, so moved.
I'll second.
Okay,
Any final comments or questions?
no, none for me, thank you.
I'm all good, so I'll call for a vote.
Aye,
Aye, so that is approved.
okay, thanks, Josh,
Thank you very much. You should-
thank you.
Could
Okay.
y'all click on the participants to see if there's anyone in the waiting room?
Thank you.
I don't see any, oh, Anne is in there. So, okay. All right,
Thank you, Josh. Thank you,
Thank
Tom.
you so much.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. That was agenda item 5 approved. Moving on to 6, discussion and consideration of Summit Community Care Clinic sublease.
okay.
Chris and Tim, you were listed here.
Sure, so as we have moved the Department of Human Services and Public Health and Environment to 735 South 24. We also incentivized Summit Community Care Clinic to expand here. Part of what we did to incentivize them to expand, to provide more behavioral and primary health care in our community was to offer no rent, in essence, for 16 months. This is a similar setup that they have in Park County for dental services, and then in Summit County for their main facility. We anticipate that the care clinic will grow in patient volume while they are here at the new facility. So at the end of the term, well, actually beginning of next August, we will renegotiate that lease to see what it looks like based on their patient count and revenues from there. But otherwise, this is the sublease to have the care clinic at 735 South 24, along with Public Health and Human Services. They will pay a security deposit of $1,000. They have currently have access to 2 exam rooms, the shared reception space, vaccine area, and the lab space as well.
And they've already signed off on the terms that were proposed to them, by the county.
Yeah. I really didn't have any questions on this. I think you'd kept us informed all along the way, so no surprises going through that sublease. Carol, I don't know.
I don't have any, I mean, it's pretty straightforward with what we had anticipated with Summit Community Care Clinic.
No, so just great, I mean, great to see county cars and signs out there and people going in.
Yeah.
So I'll just go ahead and call.
You want me to do it?
Yes.
Definitely. All right, I will make a motion that we approve the Summit Community Care Clinic sublease.
I'll second.
Okay, no discussion for me.
None for me, so I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye, so the sublease is approved.
Okay.
Moving on to, and again, thanks for everyone who, I mean, just to get that building into good use for the community is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, my computer's gonna die and I don't have a paper copy. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
Agenda item number 7, discussion and consideration of PSA with Michael Yerman to provide technical assistance and capacity in the development and review, in development and review and project-specific planning. This is led by Anne. Anne, you're up.
Thank you. Community Planning and Development is interested in going into engagement with planner Michael Yerman to add capacity to community planning and development in a variety of different ways. We're looking for support both in development review and planning projects that are coming forward through the rest of the year, as well as technical assistance on public-private partnerships as we look to engagement with Gateway in their next stage of development. We're going to need technical assistance in looking at that, as this is the first public-private partnership that the Regional Housing Authority will be engaging in. So it's support through community planning and development housing, and then also additional development review that may come in now through the end of the year. So just trying to build out that capacity within the department and bring in that technical expertise into some very timely discussions that we anticipate coming up before the end of the year. So the budget that we're asking and that is within our available budget for CPD is $10,000 to engage with Michael kind of as directed in all of those different kind of areas.
Okay.
Just glancing over the scope of work again.
Yeah, I don't have any questions on that, Anne. I would assume that if you go outside the scope of work regarding the Strong Communities consulting work, that you'll bring back to us an addition, or an exhibit, or amended scope of work, thank you. To capture anything else that you're gonna request of Michael that would be outside of this scope of work.
Right. This would though, just so that we understand kind of and make sure that we're all on the same page, this would include the ability to bring Michael in on like a preliminary plan review. It would be whether it's Gateway or any other project, or like a rezone application, any kind of planning application, land use application that we might be processing between now and the end of the year. So the scope of work is broad, certainly engagement into being present as we do our grant interview for the Strong Communities, where we're looking to incentivize the wastewater outcomes for 2 communities, but the scope of work is a bit broad to encompass adding capacity within the department as well.
Great.
Yeah.
I think it's well received for short-term solutions, but I definitely will encourage us to find long-term solutions for capacity building in CPD, because I don't think that has any anticipation of slowing down anytime soon. And so I think if Michael can work with staff directly to help them build capacity and go through the process too, to be able to answer some of these questions, that would be great. So yeah, I'm thankful for his support and just would encourage CPD to utilize this resource to continue to find a path for long-term capacity.
Agreed, and as we'll be bringing that forward in some future budget conversations for ask in capacity building for the department.
Okay. All right. I will make a motion that we approve the PSA with Michael Yerman of Michael Yerman Regional Planning. That's his, to get his company name in there, to provide technical assistance and capacity in development and review and project-specific planning.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay.
No further questions for me?
No, I just want to make sure that we're still on the track of finding qualified staff to do this in the long term as well. So that'd be it.
Yeah. I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. So that PSA with Michael Yerman is approved.
Okay.
Moving on to agenda number 8. Discussion and consideration of PSA with Fori Consultants doing business as FCI Constructors, Inc. And Tim, you're up on this one.
Sure, this is an expansion of FCI's current scope of work that we have under contract for the Community Justice Center. This scope of work is for them to provide pricing and options for the current courthouse facility.
So this is essentially like the pricing work of the GSG.
Yep.
Master plan.
Of anything that would happen with this facility.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions, and the proposal looked good.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I will make a motion that we approve the PSA with Corey Consultants Incorporated, doing business as FCI Constructors Incorporated.
I'll second.
Okay,
And
discussion.
No further discussion, so call for a vote.
aye.
Aye. So the PSA with FCI is approved. And final agenda item, number 9, discussion and consideration of Lake County IT policies.
Sure, so this, it would apply to all of Lake County government in terms of IT policies. There are 19 of them. I do have a slide deck. I'm happy to go through that with you if you would like to do that. Otherwise, this is just a move in the direction of having Lake County government become a more professional organization. So this covers everything from acceptable use policies, antivirus and malware policies, tech asset management, audit and activity policies, change management, configuration management, data backup and restoration, data protection, identity and access management, incident response, information security, network security, operations and continuity, and disaster recovery policy, physical controls policy, and our risk management policy, security awareness training policy, software development policy, and vendor management policy, as well as the vulnerability and patch management policy. So all of these would be new policies for Lake County government that we would push out through all staff that would, include the favorite line of violation of these policies can result in disciplinary action up to and including termination.
And I'll just chime in on this, y'all might recall that earlier this year, last year, they kind of were together, the state required DHS to essentially adopt new IT policies, and instead of doing it piecemeal with just one of the agencies doing that, our recommendation was to go on and develop these so that they would apply to all the agencies for consistency and stuff like that, so. That's where this came from, and some of them, they may seem more complex and a little overly broad than what the county may need at this point, but the thing I like about it is that it's mature enough, if you will, to accommodate future growth and use of our IT systems.
So what's your plan for onboarding these policies and implementation?
Sure, so a lot of these are in practice. Part of this will also go into updates. Ally has some updates for the employee handbook. So I don't think we need to add all 19 of these into the employee handbook, but we can reference them as an appendix or as an addendum for that. And as HR is going to start going around and having, if the board approves the new employee handbook policies, HR is going to go around to each department to discuss the changes, and that would include these. As I said, a lot of these, some of these are already in place that we have, we just need to formalize it. And some of these also are just, backup or policies for IT, so that they have these things on file. So like if there is an issue with employee access or something like that, they also have policies that they can follow as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think with our current approved staffing level, does IT and HR have enough? Do they have the time to get full departments and?
Yeah.
So as we, in November, the proposed changes to the employee handbook will come before you. So after that, then I think in November and December, HR will go around and meet with each department individually. Should you approve these today, then, we'll send an all staff email to that effect, and then we'll start pushing them out into the organization, and then also discuss them at CLT this Thursday, that these are the adopted policies where department directors know where to find them, and what the violations of the policies mean.
Is there a grace period for people to get up to speed on what they mean in terms of violations? So like if somebody violates the policy tomorrow and we've adopted it today, how are you going, how does that work with your communication out to departments of implementing these?
I was planning on having them being effective immediately. A lot of these, right, like it would take like a malicious act by staff to violate these.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna punish someone for clicking on spyware or malware, but like, I'm also like, you know, like, that is the issue, like we have trainings in place for
Yeah.
these, like you should know better. You've now, brought our entire system at risk. So those kind of things, and really, it's also a tool as well to educate staff to know that like there are these risks that do exist, and just because you are in a certain office that might not touch PHI or PII, there are a lot of offices that do, and that you can have an impact on the entire organization.
Yeah.
And of course, your disciplinary policy, as Tim stated it, it's, you know, disciplinary action is up to including termination, so it can range anywhere from a verbal warning to a written warning and go through the whole pathway.
So rather than looking at it from a disciplinary scope, what happens if you look at it from an educational scope?
Well,
So
I
like,
think that's what he's
so,
gonna do.
but what I'm saying is the low-level employees that don't understand what PII is, how are you going to educate them on what it is, continue that education so that there isn't disciplinary action?
Sure, so every year we require staff to complete 24 hours of training that covers all kinds of various topics, IT policies being one of them. I can review them with HR and IT to make sure that like the specifics of PII and PHI are called out, so instead of just our health staff, because I think you're right, Commissioner, a lot of people don't know what PII is, which is personally identifiable information, which the government has all of it. So a data breach here would be detrimental to the public.
Right,
So,
and I just think of those instances where somebody's like, hey, can you email me a check stub?
Right.
Somebody emails a check stub with not knowing that there's PII on that check stub, so like,
Yeah.
rather than being like, oh, you violated this policy and we're gonna discipline you, like, how can we educate you first? To say, yes, we can give that to you, but here's how you get that through our secure portal, or whatever that looks like, so I just really wanna focus on like making sure that that message is conveyed rather than, you know, this is big scary IT policy and like it's overwhelming and, like, how can we be resourceful to you to educate you and keep you in the know and keep your information safe kind of thing. So like, I'd rather just turn that instead of like, you know, focusing on the disciplinary action of the policy, but educate people on like what it is and how to keep their information safe too.
okay.
I didn't have any further questions, so I'll call for a motion if you're ready.
Sure. All right, I actually have to get back to the agenda. Sorry.
I think it's just approve the revised Lake County IT policies.
Sure. I will make a motion that we approve the Lake County IT policies.
I'll second.
Okay. Just thanks for putting this out to all employees rather than just DHS staff, because I do think it's important.
Okay, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. So the IT policies are approved.
Okay.
And then we just have the consent agenda,
Sure.
which are minutes from August 29th, September 5th, September 8th, and September 11th. And then the October 6th payroll. Did you have a chance to look over minutes? I did, and
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything. There were like one or two tiny typos the word was catching, so like a repeated word, you know, like super minor.
Yeah.
Um,
And payroll was fine.
yeah, so you're okay with considering the consent agenda as a
Yes,
whole?
I will make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay.
And call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. So the consent agenda is approved, and again, that's minutes from August 29th, September 5th, September 8th, and September 11th, and the October 6th payroll.
Okay.
And with that, we are through with our agenda. Oop, telephone is 12:20, and we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Just so everyone's aware, 24 North is still closed due to a fatality this morning.
Okay.
So if you wonder why, that's why.
Okay. Thank you.